Okay, so the pants will no longer button. Hey guys, welcome back to another video. It is Shamira, and today we are either going to be doing a 30-minute or an hour power hour, kind of like a shadow type video. I'm not sure which one I'm going to do. I just logged in. I'm getting ready to start working. What else I want to say in the intro? I have no idea, but I know I have a lot to do, so I'm just going to jump in. Make sure to give the video a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, and subscribe if you're not subscribed already. Oh, that's what I wanted to say. There will be some clips where you guys will see my screen. Now it will be blurred out, but you're not just going to be watching me type the entire time. I do want to kind of like flip and let you guys see different angles. So yeah, I did want to say that. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I have a couple charges here right now that just came back to my work queue. That is what I work my coding and review notes and everything from. It's like a work queue. It's a place where all my specific providers, departments, specialties, it all comes into like a bin kind of. And I have a couple that came back just because the insurance might have changed or the billing team might have did something to the charge that made it come back to me. I just have to make sure that everything still looks good, and it does, so I just have to send those back out. Alrighty, so my first charge that I'm looking at is going to be a colposcopy done in the office. So I have to pull up the documentation, and it looks like we did a colposcopy and an ECC. So I'm reviewing everything, and then I have to check for pathology to make sure, or to see if I have another diagnosis code that I can use. Nope, I have nothing from there. So my CPT code is going to be the 57456. It's already on my screen, but 57456, which reads colposcopy of the cervix, including upper adjacent vagina with endocervical curettage, because that's the sample that was taken and that's how it was taken. So 57456, and this patient is high risk for HPV infection. So the diagnosis code I have is R87810, and I'm gonna go ahead and send this out. So what I have to do is basically just review the note, make sure the CPT is correct for the procedure, check the diagnosis codes, and I'm entering this information into our Epic system. So it'll then go to our billing team, and they will either send out a paper claim or they'll process the claim electronically. So all I have to do is just review what the provider put in, code it, and then it's out of my hands. And I don't have to worry about it unless it were to be denied, and then I would have to go to a different work queue bin to see why it was denied. So I know I get a couple questions about what do I do with the codes. I enter them, and then they go to the billing team, and that's it. And then, you know, the whole revenue cycle, like they will receive reimbursement and all that stuff. But for me, all I have to do is review notes and submit it. So right now I have a prenatal visit where my provider, all she has is the weeks of gestation, so she didn't use a different primary diagnosis code. So I'm going to read through here really quickly. She's 13 weeks. This is her first pregnancy. So I'm just going to go with C3401. This 13 weeks would be in the first trimester. I'm going to link both diagnosis codes to her prenatal charge and send this one out. Let me make sure her LMP is in, because sometimes they don't do that in the office. And this one is in, so that one is done. Next up, we have a fetal non-stress test. And this is also the patient's first prenatal visit, which is strange that we're doing an NST on her first visit. So let me see. It says patient is a transfer at 28 weeks. Okay, so that makes sense. And we're seeing her for a decreased fetal movement, is why we did the NST. She had some vaccines, the Tdap, so I'm going to link the Z23 for encounter for immunization to our vaccine codes. The 59025 for the NST, that's going to get the decreased fetal movement for third trimester. And she is how many weeks? 28. So Z3A28, and I'm gonna link those together and make sure her LMP is in here, which it is. And okay, I have all the diagnoses. There we go. And then I'll just put a comment in that the only thing that I reviewed was the NST. Everything else isn't really something that I have to worry about reviewing. So like their vaccine codes they choose, I don't have to go in and make sure the vaccine codes, because you have to bill for the actual drug that was administered and then for the administration of the drug. So it's 2 codes, but I don't have to worry about making sure their codes are correct because that's the office's responsibility. Next, I have another prenatal visit that only the weeks of gestation was given. She is 35 years old. This is her second pregnancy. Okay, so she has an elevated hemoglobin. So let me see. That code is 099810. So 099810. And I'm gonna link both of those to my code. Depending on the payer, you could be billing the category 2 code, 0502F, or you could be billing an E&M. All the ones that I'm reviewing right now are for the category 2 code, so these are not going to go out on a claim because we are planning on billing global at the end when the patient delivers. So when I say I'm attaching these diagnosis codes, that is the code that I'm attaching it to. If it's her initial prenatal visit, like when they do the exam, we bill the 0501F, and then if it's any prenatal visit after that, it's the 0502F. So yeah. All right, and then I have another NST, and she came in for a prenatal visit, so I should have 2 codes. And the payer is AmeriHealth, so we should be billing an E&M. And on that E&M, I'll have to add modifier 25 because we're billing a procedure on the same day. So I have to go in and correct their charge that they already sent out and put into add modifier. Let me link the LMP too. Okay. let's look at this NST note. Okay, so we did it because the patient is post-dates, meaning she went past 40 weeks. I think she might be 41 weeks. That's the diagnosis code he has, but I'm going to confirm it in the, like the pregnancy prenatal visit list, because all the prenatal visits are in a certain area and it tells me the weeks that the patient is for every single visit. So I'll just verify and make sure that's right. Okay, and there was variables on the NST, so that is going to be the 0368330. So I'm going to have my 3 diagnosis codes, the one for post-dates, the abnormal fetal heart rate or rhythm, and then the weeks of gestation. But let me just confirm. Yeah, wow, she was 41 weeks and 3 days. So she probably delivered, because this was last week's charge. So she probably delivered over the weekend or through this week, sometime this week. Let me just see. Yep. Oh, she ended up having a C-section. That baby probably did not want to come out. Okay, so let me see. Reviewed NST. And I'm going to send that one out. Next, I have another prenatal visit. We actually have 2 diagnosis codes this time, but I just had to rearrange them because they had the weeks of gestation first and then the gestational diabetes, mellitus, and pregnancy second. So I flipped them, and now this one's good to go. I have a postpartum visit, and let me see. We build global, so this code that they reported, the 0503F, which is the postpartum one. What does it read? Yeah, postpartum care visit is correct. There's no fee attached to it, as there shouldn't be, because we built global. So that delivery that we built for included the prenatal care and the postpartum care. So I can go ahead and send this one out. Next, I have another prenatal visit where I have to flip the diagnosis codes. Actually, this needs corrected because she is 24 weeks, but they accidentally put in 28 weeks. And their encounter for supervision code they used was for 2nd trimester. And I know 2nd trimester, you're not 28 weeks. So that's why I figured there was something wrong with those 2 codes. So I can go ahead and send that one out. For those of you that don't know, I'm supposed to do 20 charges per hour or review 20 charts per hour. So as you can see, we are like flipping through these codes. And that's whether I have to like physically code them with my book and my ICD-10 book, or if it's like these prenatal visits that I have to correct for the office and submit them. So yeah, and that includes denials too. So like if I'm reviewing denials, they count towards my 20 per hour. What else counts? Oh, claims that I have to like make corrections to, kind of. It's not a denial, but let's say like a claim needed an LMP. So there's a work queue or a bin for that. stuff, and I have to go in and make sure that I correct those claims. Okay, so this one, patient reports with white vaginal discharge and some itching. This is a prenatal visit, so the primary diagnosis code they had was the weeks of gestation, so I'm just going to add the 099, or should I put the 026892 as like a other specified pregnancy related condition, because I think that's normal. It probably doesn't matter which one. I'm just going to go with the 099891. Again, it's one of those tracking category 2 codes, so the diagnosis codes, it really doesn't really matter if it is the 026 or the 099. And you're probably wondering why it matters that I flip them. Our system has edits or errors in place that even if it's a code that's not going to go out on a claim, they still want us to have the diagnosis codes incorrectly. So that's why I'm getting those ones where they only come back with a weeks of gestation. Yes, the claim's not going to go out, but I still have to have a more definitive diagnosis code, if you will. Okay, so now we have another colposcopy, and this time it's going to be a colp with cervical biopsy and an ECC, and we also did a urine pregnancy test, so I'll look at the results of that because they don't even have if it was negative or not, but I'm sure it was negative. It's actually positive. No, that was 9 months ago, it was positive. 8 days ago it was negative when I'm reviewing this, so yeah, negative. So this colp, I'm looking at the documentation. And everything looks good. So let me pull up pathology. And I don't get any other diagnosis code. So I'm gonna go ahead and send this one out. My CPT code is 57454. And let's look at it. Okay, so underneath cervix uteri, colposcopy of the cervix, including upper adjacent, vagina with biopsies of the cervix, and endocervical curettage, 57454. And I'm putting a comment that I reviewed this procedure. Next, another prenatal visit. She's at 18 weeks. This is her third pregnancy. So Z3482. I'll go ahead and send that one out. Next, we have an Nexplanon removal of a drug implanted device. A small incision was made along the side of the Nexplanon, and the Nexplanon removed intact without difficulty and shown to the patient. Yada yada. So that one is in the integumentary system, and that one reads removal non-biodegradable drug delivery implant, and my diagnosis code is Z30.46. Encounter for surveillance of implantable subdermal contraceptive. Reviewed procedure. And next we have another charge. That's a prenatal visit with an NST. This time, because of the pair being AmeriHealth, we're billing at E&M. So again, we need modifier 25. I'm going to attach my LMP, and then let's see why we did this NST. Patient reports Braxton Hicks, but denies regular contractions. And decreased fetal movement on the NST today. So she's 36 weeks, so Z4703 and O368130. And this NST was reactive. Well, since she denied the regular contractions, she's just having some Braxton Hicks. I'm going to take off the 04703 because that's really not needed. So we're just going to go with the decreased fetal movement first, and then weeks of gestation second. And I can go ahead and say that I reviewed NST if I can type. Okay, we have another prenatal visit with a patient that received the Tdap vaccine at 29 weeks. So there's no really, there's not really a problem. So Z34, this is her third pregnancy, so 83 is primary, then my weeks of gestation, and then I'm going to link the encounter for immunization to the vaccine codes. And that one is off. Another prenatal visit. Oh my goodness. And let me see, how many weeks is she? 17. So she's in her second trimester. She has a diagnosis for COVID positive. Okay, so I'll just leave it. And the provider chose the other viral diseases complicating pregnancy in second trimester, the O98.512. So, as well as the U07.1, the COVID-19 diagnosis code, and then I just added in her weeks of gestation because that wasn't on there. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that one through. So far in the video, I mentioned that we reviewed 2 colposcopies, I think. One of them was 57454. This would be a colposcopy of the cervix with biopsies of the cervix and endocervical curettage. And then we had the colposcopy with endocervical curettage, the 57456. I also reviewed NSTs, which would be in the delivery section, or maternity care and delivery. So 59025 is the fetal non-stress test we reviewed. And then I told you guys about the Nexplanon removal, which is in the integumentary system. And that is the, what is it, 11982 removal non-biodegradable drug delivery implant. Okay, when it came to my diagnosis codes, I've had so many, especially for those prenatal visits. But as for the colposcopies, we used the R87 code a few times. So I think we might have had one R87610 I read, and then we had a couple that were for the cervical high risk for HPV that tested positive. And for the contraceptive device, we had Z3046, and I have written Nexplanon removal, or if it were a reinsertion, you go with the Z3046. And we had a couple of prenatal visits with this Z3034 code. Whether it was the patient's first pregnancy, you would go with the 01 through 03, Or if it was a different pregnancy, like the second or more, you would go with the Z34 81 through 83. I never use the unspecified trimester because the trimester is usually listed, so that's why I didn't mention it. We have a postpartum visit, so I have to check and see how her delivery was billed. And we billed the global, so that code is correct. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more office visits to go through. Geisinger Medicaid. I don't think I've seen that plan before, but I think we're to bill. Oh my gosh. The baby is like shaped so weird right now. I don't even know if you guys will be able to tell or see what I'm even talking about. Let me see.